So the idea of this research came about 18 months to 2 years ago. I was talking to a few of my colleagues based in Australia. We were talking about allergies, eye allergies in particular. And they have multiple sites where they have these traps. However, in New Zealand, at the time, I didn't know that there are no traps, pollen traps available. So initially, we thought, okay, let's look at what's happening to the eyes. So I look at inflammatory cells that are in the eye when there are allergies, there was allergies.
So we came together. I think the timing of the research was around late 2021. I was looking at what causes or has led to asthma attacks within New Zealand, and pollen is one of the data points that we're wanting to look at. And again, that's when I realized that New Zealand doesn't actually have its own pollen data stream. The process each week is we have to make sure that we change the pollen sampler on time, because each time the sampler only lasts for 7 days. So it's really important that we can capture the pollen within that week and change it on time. So every Tuesday morning before 9:30, we have to make sure that we get to the pollen sampler on the roof and change out the pollen trapping tape so that we can replace it with a new one, just to make sure that the pollen that we get doesn't adhere over the previous week's pollen. Otherwise, we lose all that valuable data.
We chose Auckland Museum roof because this was the exact location of 1988 pollen trap collection when it was done for a few months, 6 months as I remember. So we thought it'll be fitting to just do it at the same location and see how pollen has changed over the decades at this point. And it needs to be, the location needs to be, the site needs to be at certain height and not surrounded by buildings. So we need to, and this is an ideal place, Auckland Museum roof. So yeah. The analysis of pollen can be really useful in understanding not just the pollen count, but of course overall health. So as I mentioned, over the years, over the decades, the pollen timing, the season timing has changed. The severity of this pollen has changed.
Speaking for an asthma point of view, so our recent work, we know that asthma attack rates are increasing in New Zealand, and that is something that I'm particularly concerned about. We know in the last decade we have seen about a third increase in asthma attacks, and particularly large increases in our Māori and Pacific communities. We think with climate change, and we have seen that with the flooding and the changes in temperature, for example, that these changes have changed the types of pollen that we see, the types of plants and material that are around the Auckland and New Zealand area. And I think that could definitely have an impact on people's allergies. And that is something that we really want to find out with this pollen collaboration with Auckland Museum.